Marcus, what other kind of challenges and pain have you been seeing? You've been really on the cold face with a few of our MSP clients, and I know you've come back to me with some stories about some of the stuff you've seen, maybe custom built and this kind of stuff. What kind of things are you seeing out there in the world?
I think it's really around that where people have gone off and customized ServiceNow to develop their own CPQ tools to try and move away from those spreadsheets. The thought process you have to go through to allow reworking of those quotes without starting again just hasn't been put into the customized tools. So the basics have been done pretty well, but as soon as you kind of go off the critical path and want to actually loop back around and take something out or put something in, I've seen some customers who are doing a network order which has got 50 sites. Inevitably over a 3-month period, some of those sites will come and go because just the business churns that. And if you can't adjust that order mid-flight, but you have to go back to the beginning every time, I've seen some admin teams spending 20 or 30% of their time just rebuilding orders and starting again. And the return on investment for reducing that rebuild, reducing that rework, the reduced impact on customers who have to reauthorize things they might have mostly authorized already, is really where the payback is for investing and doing it in a much more joined up way. And the same thing really goes for the transition from sales to project and then on into support. And then when when clients ring the service desk and say, so-and-so bit of equipment is broken, because the models and the product sets don't quite match in all the different databases that everybody's using through that chain, then actually the service desk are kind of running around in the background trying to find whether they are actually in support or whether they, what other products might be impacted by that failure. And so the whole end-to-end kind of user experience through the sales cycle, but also through into support and the renewals, is really heavily impacted by that kind of disparate, similar but very not quite the same data model. And because it doesn't quite join up, it's close enough, but it doesn't quite join up. It actually becomes very hard when you get when I used to sit on the operational side and receive business from MSPs, if I got a bill that was 200 pages long, and I was trying to look through that every month to find things and check on sites that had been closed down, other sites that had been added, that just ate up my resource in my team on the customer side to try and process that bill every month. If you had reassurance that the model was correct and there was accurate information at all stages, then when you came to either uplift a site midway through a contract or remove a site from the contract, you had that reassurance that the billing was accurate because it linked and was easy to trace back to what the quote was. Then the reduction in kind of overhead of your just resource processing that bill was massive. I've seen so many examples of, the order comes through in one format with one set of product description, and you go through to the bill and it's got a completely different set of product description that you just can't interpret the two things together, especially if you're in the finance team and you're not that technical anyway. So the finance team then end up going to the operational support team to ask the techies, is this bill right? And the impact it's having all over the organization and the resistance to then making changes in your contract and doing those uplifts is a really significant factor in just that lack of consistency through the whole model. So if you can get that right, not only does it give something that the quote and the configuration tools can kind of get a solid foundation and solid product model, but if you can move that across into the support and the billing platform and then present them in a consistent way with consistent hierarchies or product groups, then those bills become easy to kind of marry up between what you bought on your order and your purchase order, but also then what you're supporting day to day. And when you come to renew it at the end of your contract, it becomes quite straightforward to add or remove bits and pieces to it as well. If it's hundreds of lines or even hundreds of pages with 1 or 2 lines on each page, you're kind of faced there looking at this kind of big stack of paper that you've had to print out with your highlighter pen to kind of go through, and it's just almost impossible to process, and you just don't want to do it really. So that's where I really see the benefit from the customer side of getting this right, is that you make their life so much easier that they don't want to leave you and go to one of your competitors.